Hi, boys and girls. Guess what day it is today? Friday Fun Day. That's right. It's day 14 of our Learning at Home Day. Hey, I'm so proud of you and all the work that you're doing. I also want to say happy birthday to Levi. Tomorrow is Levi's special day. If we were all together, we could sing happy birthday to him, couldn't we? But maybe tomorrow you'll wake up and you'll think about Levi. I know I sure will. Levi, we pray and trust that you have a special day tomorrow. We love you. We wish we were together, but we're happier with your family. There's no better place than home. Okay, let's start our day with prayer, and then we'll check out our sentences that we're going to be reading today. Would you pray with me, please? Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you, Father, that it's Friday and that we've worked hard all week. Father, I pray that the children would have a great day today, that they would understand all that we are learning. Father, most of all, I pray that they would hide the story of Easter in their hearts, that they would know how much you love them, how much you love me. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for coming to earth as a baby just to take away my sins. Father, I pray that the children and their families would have a wonderful Easter as they celebrate your death and resurrection and you being in heaven for us today. Father, thank you for this time. Help our learning to go well and help the children to understand. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so as you know, we started yesterday on Thursday doing our sentences of review. But instead of Mrs. Webster just putting up a random sentence, I thought it would be fun to start some news. So today, I'm randomly trying out your name like I do with our apples. I wrote them on a little piece of paper. And if I have some news about you, I turn it into a sentence. How about that, okay? So I will give all 22 of you a turn, but we can't do all 22 of you in one day, can we? So today, we're going to do 3 new friends. I drew out the name Neil. We've heard a lot of news about you, Neil. London, we've heard news about you, sweetheart. And Emma today. So let's check out their sentences. Can you read them with me, please? Here we go. The first one I drew out was Neil. So the thing that I found so much fun, other than his Legos and his playing with his sister Opal and all the fun things he's been doing, is that Neil did this. Can you read this sentence with me? Neil plants, there's that special sound, po, plants what did Neil plant? A garden. That's right. Neil planted a garden with his family over this time. What a great idea. So if we were going to mark Neil's sentence, we could circle that special sound, pull in plain, and that would help us read this word fluently, wouldn't it? Let's read that sentence one more time about our friend Neil. Ready? Neil plants a garden. After Neil planted his garden, now he has to start taking care of it, doesn't he? He needs to weed it and water the plants so that they'll grow nice and healthy. Let's look at our second sentence. This one is about our sweet friend. Can you read her name? London. That's right. London, you've been up to all kinds of fun stuff at Grandma's house with Mom and Dad, and sisters too. But let's read this sentence about you. I chose this word, London, because it also has a special sound, ter, doesn't it? Did you notice this is a 2-vowel word where the I says I? I also see a memory word or a sight word. How about you give it a try? This is kind of a long word, boys and girls, but if we split it up like this, it might help you read it. Do this part first. The A says a, and the O-R says or. All right, here we go. Tractor. Now put it together. Tractor. All right, let's read it. London rides a tractor. Let's try it fluently. Ready? Here we go. London rides a tractor. I see a period at the end and a capital letter at the beginning. Finally, we have a sweet sentence about our friend Emma. Emma has been having a blast at home, and this is something that she has done. That goes like that. This would be and this would be it. Maybe that will help you read this word. And I'm going to put a line between that word also, because boys and girls, this word is 2 parts, just like tractor. If you split up a long word like that, sometimes it helps you excellent readers read a little bit longer word with a few more sounds than just 3. So try this part first. I think you can do it. Ready? Let's read Emma's sentence together. Emma bakes muffins. That's right. That word right there that Mrs. Webster wrote about Emma is muffins. I think she bakes some muffins. Here we go. Emma bakes muffins. Nice reading. Thumbs up, boys and girls. Those are our 3 review sentences for today. Now, let's move on to numbers. Today I have some sets of numbers. A set in this case is 2. Can you read the numbers from there? It says 37, 18. Which one of those numbers is the greatest? Is it 37 or 18? Do you know? If I had you come up and take it off the board, which one is the greatest? Which would you take off and give to our star of the day? Do you know? 37, 18. That's right. You would take off 37. 37 is much bigger than 18. All right, let's get rid of that set and let's move across. Let's read these 2 numbers together. 61, 74. In that set, which number is the greatest? Do you know? Which number would you take off the board and give to the star of the day? The greatest. 61 or 74? Did you pick 74? Good for you. 74 is greater than 61. What's one way you could do this easily? Well, look at the tens place. Is 7 in the tens place bigger than 6 in the tens place? Sure it is. 7 is larger than 6. So 74 would be greater or larger than 61. 74 was the answer to that set. Let's go to this set. Getting a little bit trickier maybe. 21 and 14. Now let's try this one. Which one is the least, the smallest? If you were going to take the least number off the board, would you take off 21 or 14? Excellent! You know the answer. The least is the smallest, and that would be 14. 14 is smaller than 21. Again, you can tell the answer to that by looking at the number in the tens place. Is 1 smaller than 2? Yes. So that means 14 is least. It's the smallest. Good job. Let's move on to the next set. Can you read those numbers, please? 26, 35. Which number is the least, the tiniest? Good work. It is 26. 26 is smaller or littler than 35. All right, good job. Moving on to our review board, Mrs. Webster put up some of our color words. Can you read those with me, please? Here we go. Yellow, white, brown, there's burr and bride, brown, and pink. Pink, good job. Pink reminds me of a springtime color. Yellow also, I love yellow. All right, moving our color words off our board, let's look at our Bible verse today. And let's say it one last time before we go on our spring break. Are you ready? And be kind, tender-hearted, forgiving each other. Ephesians 4:32. Well done, kindergarten. All right, today we're going to move our board and we're going to put up, let me first of all show you your phonics page, silly me. Sometimes I get mixed up. So before we do our phonics page today, we need to review our sight words. We haven't done those for so long. So let's get busy and let's see what they are. And today I have a new one for you, but it's an easy one. It's one you can blend. Okay, here we go. Remember we talked about this one last week. We said that the children could come to Jesus. Come. Said, good. Can you beat me while we're reading? Can you beat me reading the word? See. You. the, me, it, and, a, to, in, is, down, run, we, help. Nice job. Guess what? We have one more new word before we go on our spring break, and it looks like this. You could blend this one. What would the you say? Would it say you, or would it say You're right. It says So this word says up. Up. What can you think of that is up in the sky? Well, I'm thinking of someone that went up in the sky. After Jesus died and was buried in that tomb, and 3 days later he came out of the tomb alive, he didn't stay on earth forever, did he? He did stay for a while, and he visited with his disciples and other people that knew that he was alive, that saw him, that talked to him, that touched him. And then shortly after, boys and girls, Jesus went up into the sky, and the disciples watched. What do you think that would have been like, to see Jesus actually rise up into the sky? Can things really rise up in the sky? Well, like a plane can, because its wings are made so that it can fly. A bird can fly because of the way God created it. It can go up. But like I have a clip right here. If I dropped this clip, could I get it to go up? No. You know what would happen. It would crash to my floor, and it would make a sound. So I don't want to do it. But remember that most things, except for things like airplanes and helicopters that have been designed to fly, something else like a clip or a ball or us, we would fall down, wouldn't we? Do you know what does that? Gravity, that's right. But Jesus, who was God's Son, went up into the sky back to heaven. And that's how we know he's in heaven today, preparing a place for us to go. All right, so boys and girls, on our reading paper today, we're doing phonics, page 189. Page 189. We've done many of these since you've been home, and we've done many of them at school. It is 3 sentences with 3 mystery words. Now, these sentences, boys and girls, don't really go together. Remember when we did the one with the chicken and the hen? Those 4 sentences made a story. These are just 3 little sentences, but one word only makes sense. If I was doing this paper, I would read each sentence and try each word in each sentence. So I would do all 3 words in the first sentence. When I know the answer, I'm going to cross it out and draw that word on the line neatly. Then I only have 2 to pick from for the next sentence. I'd read the sentence and I'd try the 2 words that are left. One of them makes sense. I'm going to write it on the line and draw it out. Then I know the very last word has to fit in the last sentence. That's how I would do this paper. How about you? That would be the best plan, I think. All right, at the very bottom, you have a whole bunch of words today. I need you to look at them very, very, very carefully, because many of them have a special sound, and you have to find them all. Don't miss one. We've learned so many special sounds. Like really quick, I see gur and grin. I see th in thick. I see th in thick again. I see soul in sleep. Oh, I see cull in clock. I'm looking over here and I see tur in train. Who does that remind you of? Yeah, Aiden, he always loves that one. Pull in plane. Circle all the special sounds and then mark the vowels. Now some of the words like cake do not have a special sound, but that's a 2-vowel word. How do you mark a 2-vowel word? Good job. And then some of them have a special sound at the end of the word, like st in stop. Okay, go slowly on this. That's my warning. I know you'll do a great job. Today, we're going on to do some subtraction, just like we've been doing in our math time. This is page 261. So if you had 7 ice, oh, I'm sorry, silly me. This is not subtraction. This is adding. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you had 7 ice cream cones and you got 2 more, Mrs. Webster wants you to draw 2 ice cream cones. How many would that be altogether? 7 plus 2. You could slap the 7 and count on or count up. Let's try that one. 7, 8, 9. So the answer would be 9. Now there are 9 ice cream cones in all. All right, here's the popcorn. There's 6 bags of popcorn, but it says you're going to have 1 more bag. Oh, it's peanuts, not popcorn, silly me. Peanuts. 6 bags of peanuts. If there's 1 more bag of peanuts, how many would that be altogether? Draw a bag of peanuts and then slap the 6, the biggest one, and count on or count up. 6, 7. Why did we only count up 1? Because it's only a 1. 6, 7. So the answer to 6 plus 1 equals 7. Don't forget to write the sentence, the number in the sentence. There are 7 bags of peanuts in all. And then, boys and girls, the last one is candy apples. Have you ever had a caramel apple or a candy apple? It says there are 5. Would you please draw 3 and then slap, count on, write the answer here and in the sentence. All right, we'll flip our paper over. Here's the subtraction. Silly me, I knew there was subtraction. This time, there are 9 corn dogs. Sounds like we're at the fair with Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown. We're going to cross out 4 corn dogs. How many corn dogs will be left? Count them and see. Write the answer. Do you know what those are? They're so good on a hot day. A snow cone. Remember, we have those sometimes. I think at school we've had them. So here are 10 snow cones. Can you cross out 6? How many snow cones are left? Don't forget to write your answer here and in the sentence. All right, finally, we're going to count backwards starting at 10. We're going to do that in a minute on our review board. But while I have my paper here, look carefully. 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 3, 1. Do you know what was missing? I'm sure you do. All right, boys and girls, that's your math paper today. But today for our math board, Mrs. Webster did some review problems so that we don't forget. We don't want to forget our math, do we? All right, hang on. Let's change our board and you'll see what I mean. It looks like this. First of all, let's look at my red numbers. I put up some missing numbers also, just like you're going to be doing on your paper. So 10, 9, what's next? 8, good. 7, 6, 5. Down, around, and give him a hat. 4, 3. Curl around and around again. 2, 1, and 0. Mrs. Webster went all the way to 0. I think on our paper it stops at 1, but that doesn't matter. All right, here we go for some review. Let's try a big adding problem with counting on. Let's give it a try. You ready? Is 8 the larger number or is 9 the larger number? 9. So let's slap 9 and count on up 8 places. How many places? 8. So let's discover that 8 plus 9 equals something. You ready? Here we go. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Wow, did you know you could do math that hard? 8 plus 9 equals 17. Thumbs up. Let's do another counting on. Let's do 7 plus 3. This time Mrs. Webster wrote our addition problem up and down. So where does our answer go? Does it go above the line or below the line? That's right, below the line. Here we go. 7, 8, 9, 10. You knew the answer was 10, I'm sure. Excellent. Next, I put some numbers here, some 10s and 1s, and asking you what number comes after. Well, the first thing we have to do is discover what is this number. Do you know that number? What number comes after this number? Do you know? It's pretty easy, isn't it? Because the tens place stays the same, and the ones place, all we have to think about is what comes after 2. What is it? Good job. So let's read those two numbers together. 42, 43. Does that sound right? Yeah, it makes sense. Now let's try this one. What number is in the tens place? What number is in the ones place? Here we go. 85. So what number comes after 85? Well, remember, the tens place stays the same, doesn't it? The 8 will remain the same in the tens place. But the next part is so easy. If you're counting, when you count on or count up, what comes after 5? Good job, 6. So our numbers should say 85, 86. Well done. Looking at our apple and our grapes, can you tell Mrs. Webster which one is on the right? Not the left. Which one is on the right? Is it the apples or the grapes? Good job, it's the grapes. The grapes are on the right because the L we make with our fingers is the left side. And that's what an L looks like, so that's the left. All right, moving on, our last review, we're going to look at the clock. What time does our clock say today? Does it say 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock? Which one is the hour hand? Do you remember? Our analog clock has hands. It has the face and a long hand and a shorter hand. Yes, today the hour hand is pointing to the 3. So our time that we should write on our clock is, whoopsie, that fell, didn't it? 3 o'clock. Sorry about the noise. All right, there we go. Sometimes things happen even when you teach at home. All right, next, boys and girls, I want to remind you that in your packet, maybe your family saw this, we gave you a special project that you could do over our Easter or spring break, which is next week. I know of one friend who's already made theirs because they showed me. Well, it goes along with our grown-up poem. Would you please say the grown-up poem with me? When I get all grown up and I am great big me, there are oh so many things that I would like to be. A pastor or policeman, a pilot flying jets, a dentist or a farmer, an animal-loving vet, a teacher or a salesman, a firefighter too, a doctor or a kind nurse, a worker at the zoo, a mailman bringing letters, a baker making cakes, a waiter or a waitress. Sometimes it's hard to wait. But someday when I'm grown up and know God's perfect plan, I only want to please Him and do the best I can. Boys and girls, we have a special project and a report for you to fill out and get finished over spring break. Maybe some of you have already started this special project. Mrs. Powell put together in your packet a little letter that explains our career or community helper project. You're going to take the puppet that she made for you. You're going to cut it out. This one you can tell is a little girl. Cut out the cardboard. This is made of cardboard. And using crayons or markers, paints, maybe fabric or yarn, maybe wiggly eyes, maybe stickers, we want you to design your puppet into one of the jobs that you might like to be when you grow up. It doesn't have to be the one that we picked for being in our poem. I think you know what I'm talking about for promotion. It doesn't have to be that one. Maybe you want to be a karate instructor. Is that on our poem? No. Maybe you want to be a Marine. Is that in our poem? No. Maybe you would like to be something that isn't in the poem. What about a librarian? Would you like to help children find books? That would be great. What about someone that works at SeaWorld? Or what about someone who does yard work? There's so many other jobs than are the ones in our poem. I want you, for this project, to think of something you might like to be when you grow up. You're going to, again, cut out your puppet using all those things that you could find at home. You don't have to go out and buy anything. No. You could use just some old pieces of fabric your mom might have, or some yarn she might have in a drawer, or some ribbons, and you're going to design your puppet into that job that you would think you would like to be. Taking the next paper is a little report for you to fill out. Your moms and dads can help you. I'd really love for you to do your own printing on this. They could help you spell the words, but can you print the letters yourself? I hope so. When we come back to kindergarten, you're going to bring your puppet back. We're going to take turns reading about your puppet. You get to read this to us, so practice it at home. You're going to show us what you made, and then we also want you to make a little sign. Now, I did Dominic, just for fun. I wrote policeman by Dominic, and you're going to make a little card like this too. If you don't have these cards at home, we have them at school, and Mrs. Powell can help you make your card, okay? So don't worry if you didn't make a card. We're going to put this with your puppet and your report for all our friends to see. All right? I hope you can make your neat project at home. All right, for our final lesson before we have spring break, we want to finish our story of Easter. In the last couple of days, we've read the story of Easter where Jesus had the Last Supper with his disciples, and Judas turned Jesus in to the men who did not love Jesus. Jesus was taken from the garden where he was there praying with his disciples. They arrested him and they took him before the judge. Actually, they called him a governor. And he was sentenced to die. They said that he would die on a cross. And so he did. Remember yesterday when we read the story that darkness filled over the land? Why do you think darkness came over the land? It was the middle of the day. I think it happened because it was such an awful and sad moment when Jesus died. They took his body off the cross, didn't they? And they buried him in a tomb. They rolled a large rock or stone over the front part of the tomb so that no animals or no one could get inside the tomb. And that's, boys and girls, we're going to read the next part of our story. All right? Sit back and relax and listen to the Bible story today. It's called The Best News Ever. Jesus died and was buried on Friday. Early on Sunday morning, some women came to the tomb where he had been buried. They brought spices and perfume to put on his body. But they couldn't do it on the day that he died because it was the Sabbath and they had to rest. The women were surprised when they got to the tomb. The big stone had been rolled away, and the tomb was open. There inside the tomb was Jesus' body that wasn't there. The strips of cloth that had been wrapped around his body were there, but he was gone. Let's turn the page and see what happens next. Suddenly, 2 shining angels were standing in front of them. The women were frightened. The angel said, "Why are you looking for a live person in here when only dead people are in here? Jesus isn't here. He has risen. He was risen from the dead, just like he said he would." The women ran back into town to tell Jesus' friends that he was not dead any longer. He was alive. Mary Magdalene stayed behind. She saw a man that she thought was the gardener. "Where have you put Jesus?" she asked. The man turned to her and said, "Mary." It was Jesus. Jesus was alive. Meanwhile, the other women ran and told the disciples that Jesus was alive. Peter didn't believe what the women said, so Peter ran to the tomb as fast as he could, and he ran inside. What did he find? An empty tomb. The women were right. Jesus was gone. Jesus was alive. Boys and girls, as we think about our Easter together, I hope that you remember and pray and thank the Lord that he died on the cross for you and for me, and that he is now risen and in heaven today. He welcomes us to join him and to be part of his family. Today, instead of doing one of our Bible worksheets, we're going to make a special project, a project that will remind us of the cross and what Jesus did for us. So let me get it and stand up and we'll check this out. Let's look and see. Let's see, where did Mrs. Webster put it? I put it on the back of this one. All right, let's turn it around. First of all, I think you may have some of these materials at home. If you don't, I was thinking you could just take maybe one of your pieces of printing paper and maybe you could color part of it brown, color part of it green. But if you do have some scraps of construction paper, colored paper, you could cut these things out, I was thinking. This is maybe one of those simpler things you could make. So first of all, you're going to need a plain piece of paper. And then we're going to make a cross out of 2 strips of brown. So I already cut my strips of brown. I cut a large one, whoops, I dropped my smaller one, and I did a smaller one, boys and girls, to look like this. We're going to use these 2. One is taller than the other, and we're going to put it across like this, the smaller piece on the top. You could do this if you wanted. Now, to make it look like real wood, I just kind of cut some jagged marks. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I made it look a little bit jagged. Do you see it, how I did that? Instead of straight across, just to make it look like real wood, like it was a log, okay? And then I did the same thing with the tall one. Just cut it like it was, just a log that was laying around. And then something else I did was I took a brown crayon and I drew just some lines on it to make it look like the lines on a log. Okay, that makes it look a little bit more interesting. And then a few across the cross part. Just draw a couple of brown lines. So to make this project, so far we've learned that we need brown paper, scissors, and a crayon, okay? We're going to glue down the cross on our paper. This was going to be one of our projects that we did today on Friday together so that we would have an Easter project to take home, but we can do it at home. Even maybe some brothers and sisters would like to make one too. And then, boys and girls, we're going to take a black crayon and to make a little bit of a hill because Jesus was, his cross was put on a hill. I'm going to draw some light lines that make it look like a hill. Does that look like a hill? Good. And then taking some green colors, we're going to cut out some green leaves. So I just took my scissors and cut some zigzags and I made it into some leaves. I'm going to put some glue on the back and glue those down by the bottom of the cross. I think I did 3. You can make as many as you want. You don't have to put them all by the cross, but you could put them on the hill. And then, if you wanted to make your leaves look a little bit more interesting, you could take that black crayon again and draw some of those marks. Just straight marks that make it look like stems and the leaves part of the flowers. Okay? Then we're going to take colored paper, and I have pink and yellow and purple. Maybe you have some spring colors that you could do this, or just color some flowers on some white paper and cut them out, all right? I'm going to put one of these springtime flowers up on the cross, and I'm going to put some of these around by the leaves and the stems, okay? There's no right or wrong way to do this, boys and girls. It's just a picture that reminds us of Jesus and what he did on the cross. If you wanted to, you could also take your black crayon and draw some little lines so it looks like the flower petals and maybe a little black spot in the middle. Or if you had some more colored paper, you could put a little dot of color in the middle. Okay, so the little black is just to draw the petals of the flowers. Maybe you and your family would like to hang this up. I also put a Bible verse on mine, and there is a Bible verse that maybe you could print. It's called 2 Corinthians 5:15, and it says, "He died for all and rose again." So if we had been in kindergarten, we would have taken our crayon or a pencil and we would have printed this Bible verse up here. But I don't know if you can do that at home, if you can see this, and you can print that Bible verse too. It's up to you. Or maybe your family can think of another Bible verse that you could put up there. Or you could also write, "Jesus is alive." That's what we wrote on our Bible paper yesterday, didn't we? Let's do that, because I think that would be easy to do. JESUS says Jesus. Now is says is. And then let's try to write alive. ALIVE. Jesus is alive. Did you see how Mrs. Webster put space in between my words? That would be a good idea also, so it doesn't all scrunch together. Give that little jump and jump in between each word. Boys and girls, this is a precious project because it just will remind you when you see it that that's what Easter is about. That Easter is the story of Jesus, and Jesus coming to earth and dying on the cross for your sin and mine, and living today in heaven, not staying dead, but being alive. Boys and girls, I hope you have a wonderful break of schoolwork and thinking about all these things. Don't stop reading, though. If you have some good books at home, keep reading, all right? Some of you are still working on your readers. All right, I'm proud of you, and I love you. I'll miss talking to you for a few days, but I'll see you again soon. God bless you. I'll be praying for you and your family. I love you. Bye.